If you are familiar with true crime, you have most likely heard this infamous case of the Club Kid murder before. Every time I have seen this talked about, it is mostly under salacious circumstances, focusing on the clubbing or the drugs. Today, I want to look a little deeper into the full story and what was going on with New York at the time. I think it's important to start with the first article from the Village Voice that broke this story before the body of Angel Melendez was even discovered. In the background of portions of this video, I'm going to be playing footage from Nelson Sullivan, a videographer in New York City in the late 1980s that recorded Michael Alig and many of the famous Club Kid friends. Did King of Club Kids Michael Alig really kill Angel Melendez? Or is it all a hoax? Several confidential sources claim that the former Limelight promoter has told him that he indeed killed his sometime roommate Angel earlier this year. By Frank Owen, originally published June 25, 1996. Standing over 40 stories tall, the Riverbank West apartment complex is a beacon of faux luxury amid the drab workday surroundings of the far West 40s. Until recently, the building's most notorious resident was Uber Club Kid Michael Alig, who lived in a two-bedroom, blonde wood floor apartment paid for by his then-employer. It was at the riverbank in the walled red brick courtyard with its circular drive and feeble attempt at a fountain that Johnny Melendez last saw his brother Angel. Angel, a 26-year-old small-time drug dealer and friend of Alig's, had come to New York from Colombia 18 years ago. He had ambitions of becoming an actor/filmmaker, but in his late teens, he fell in with the racy nightlife crowd and became a full-time scene maker instead. In early March, Johnny dropped Angel off at Riverbank after a rare get-together over a Chinese meal in Manhattan. The two brothers didn't hang out very often, though they look alike physically. The worlds they moved in were vastly different. The conventionally attired Johnny is a salsa DJ who spins in small Latino clubs in New Jersey. Angel, on the other hand, inhabited a trendier milieu. He was a conspicuous figure at the Gaetian-owned Limelight, where he could often be spotted selling Special K and ecstasy while wearing his trademark Barbarella-style feather wings. He didn't used to look like that, Johnny remembers. When he was growing up, he was a quiet boy, very shy. The two brothers did keep in touch via beeper, though. Johnny has never met Michael Alig, but Angel talked about the King of Club Kids all the time. He told me that Alig owed him some money, said the 27-year-old Melendez. Johnny doesn't want to believe his younger brother is or was a drug dealer. People said he never used drugs, he argued. True, but he did sell them. I know. I bought ketamine from him for last year's Special K Voice cover story. There are generally two types of drug dealers, those who are their best customer and those who never, as the saying goes, get high on their own supply. Angel was in the latter category. Johnny hopes his brother is still alive, but he's heard the widely publicized rumors to the contrary. When he first learned of Angel's disappearance, he contacted Detective Michael Reedy at the 10th Precinct. Reedy said he couldn't open an investigation without more concrete evidence, which was tough to find, since Johnny didn't even have a permanent address or a phone number for his brother, just the Bieber number, calls to which went ominously unanswered. If he was an important person, the police would start looking right away, claims Johnny. They just didn't want to know. After filing a missing persons report, Johnny went to the city morgue, but to no avail. Then he decided to launch his own unofficial investigation. Contacted by The Voice, Detective Reedy said, "I have no idea what you're talking about," and claimed to have never heard of Angel Melendez. Did Johnny Melendez contact him? He could have, came the reply. Last Friday, another cop from the 10th Precinct, Detective Anthony Graham, called Johnny. He was more helpful, says Melendez. Johnny now spends his days trudging from store to store in the East Village and his nights visiting his brother's old haunts in search of information. He also taped up posters by the West Village piers, in Washington Square Park, and along St. Mark's Place, offering a $4,000 reward for information about Angel's whereabouts. While Johnny was down by the pier, someone who identified themselves only as a friend of Angel's from the Limelight approached him and warned him to be careful. "A lot of important people are involved in your brother's disappearance," he said mysteriously. "I went looking for my brother and I found myself in another world," Johnny says of the freaky people he met on his travels. "I don't know any friends of my brother's. Even though we were close, everything was a big secret with him. But I soon found people who knew Angel and were willing to help me." Several confidential sources, only one of them would speak on the record, claim that former Limelight producer Michael Alec has told them that his press denials notwithstanding, he did indeed kill his sometime roommate Angel earlier this year. They say that Alec has made the stunning confession to a number of people. In the press, Alec continues to pass off the incident as a rumor invented by the Limelight drag queen that he played along with until it got out of hand. But several insiders buy the scenario that Michael Musto broke as a blind item in his column 2 months ago. Alec got into a row with Angel over money he had stolen from Angel. The fight escalated and Angel started strangling Alec, at which point Freeze, a friend of Alec's, repeatedly hit Angel over the head with a hammer. Though gravely injured, Angel was still alive, so Freeze, Alec, and an unidentified third person decided to finish the job off by injecting the moaning victim with Drano. Angel did not go quietly into the night, says one source. According to Michael, the apartment was covered in blood. Alec is such a twisted individual and his judgment is so warped by drugs that it's possible he's confessing to a crime he didn't commit. He loves the media spotlight, he relishes this bad boy reputation, so this could all be an elaborate hoax. But if it is a scam, where the hell is Angel? His heartbroken parents would like to know. His father, who arrived here from Colombia last week, accompanied Johnny to the Voice offices on Saturday for a fact-finding mission. Michael is so sick at the moment that the whole thing could be contrived, says Screaming Rachel, who confirmed that Alec confessed the murder to her. No matter how many people he confessed to, I find it hard to believe that Michael deliberately killed someone. Either way, though, this is an unbelievable horror. If he did, it must have been the drugs. Michael Alec has been a heavy drug user for years and makes no secret of that. One of the first times I ever met him after a brief high, he told me to make a fist and proceed to pour a full gram of cocaine onto the edge of my hand. In the early days of Disco 2000, he would appear with bags of drugs in each hand, which he would then pass out as gifts to partygoers. One of his favorite forms of greeting was to say, "Open your mouth," whereupon Alec would pop a hit of ecstasy into your gaping mouth. According to several Limelight regulars, prior to the disappearance of Angel, his always prodigious drug intake had increased dramatically. He was smoking crack and injecting heroin daily. That's why he was sacked by Peter Gadian. One club kid remembers that 2 days before Angel disappeared, Alec was in the middle of a coke binge when he started telling friends, jokingly perhaps, "I want to kill Angel. I want to kill Angel." The story Alec is telling friends goes much further than the original Musto item. According to the anonymous sources, Alec left Angel's body in the bathroom for over a week while deciding what to do with the corpse. It's Baroque details like these that might lead one to wonder if the whole thing is a hoax. Over the next few days, Alec phoned acquaintances, telling them that he had a dead body in his apartment and asking how to get rid of it. One visitor to Alec's abode who spoke anonymously described a putrid smell that made you gag. The same person noticed the bathroom had been barricaded shut. When the stench of rotting flesh became too much to bear, Alec told one source he dismembered the body into the bathtub, stuffed the torso in a trunk, and the limbs into a plastic bag. In a sick scene out of a Hitchcock movie, Alec and his friends supposedly carried the trunk downstairs to the lobby, where the doorman commented on the obnoxious odor emanating from the case. Alec then hailed a taxi, took the body to the Hudson River, and dumped it. In a bizarre twist, while the plastic bags containing Angel's limbs sank immediately, the trunk floated away on the current. Or so the story that Alec is telling goes. The doorman at Alec's old building told Johnny Melendez that they had noticed nothing unusual, but a superintendent did tell him that 2 policemen had visited Alec's old apartment in the wake of Angel's disappearance. In a luxury building like that, somebody must have heard something. He speculates about his brother. To take out a dead body from a place like that must have been very hard. The building manager at the riverbank failed to return repeated phone calls from the Voice. According to contacts at the Gadian camp, the conflict with Angel began months earlier when Alec stole $2,000 from the drug dealer. As revenge, Angel severely beat Alec over the head with a platform shoe. When Angel disappeared, Alec reportedly stole $18,000 from the absent drug dealer's stash, which he used to refurbish his luxury apartment. Later, Alec sold his new furniture to finance a cross-country road trip from Chicago to Denver he took after Angel's exit. Through his spokesperson, Gadian has denied ever knowing Angel. According to new information, however, Angel was not only on the payroll of Gadian's organization, he also supplied the drugs that fueled the sex orgies Gadian and Alec used to throw. One source close to Gadian, however, says that when Alec first tried to tell Gadian his version of what happened at Riverbank West, Gadian interrupted him and said, "Stop right there. There's no way I can help you. You've got to get a lawyer and go to the police." When Alec's alleged accomplice in the murder, or hoaxdom, Freeze, heard that the voice was asking questions about Angel, he contacted this reporter and offered to give his side of the story. In an interview that was mainly off the record, Freeze stated that on the Sunday in question, he showed up at Alec's place at noon after spending the night partying at the tunnel. Angel, getting dressed and apparently in a bad mood, woke up Alec to demand money that he owed him for drugs. The former hat designer claims that the last time he saw Angel was when Angel left the apartment, saying that he intended to get something to eat. I was told that Freeze had agreed to talk to me as a way of finding out what information the voice had about the alleged murder or hoax. He'd heard through the grapevine that Alessandra, prompted by the news that the DEA was looking into the possibility that her husband had something to do with Angel's disappearance, and was about to supply this newspaper with what she had claimed was conclusive proof that Alec did it. Freeze's information was correct. Gadian's spokesperson, Ron Koch, called me last month, saying that Alessandra had hard evidence of Alec's guilt. At the last minute, though, Alessandra canceled the interview at the insistence of Gadian's high-powered lawyer, Benjamin Braffman, who threatened to quit the case if she talked to The Voice. It's unclear whether this hard evidence exists, but according to one theory, immediately after the murder, Alec tried to get in touch with Gadian. Instead, he got Kobayashi on the phone, Alessandra, and told her, "There's a dead body in my apartment. How do I get rid of it?" Alessandra, who hates Alec because of the special place he holds in her husband's affections, is known to secretly tape record many of her phone conversations. When he heard that Alessandra might have incriminating tape, Alec began peddling another cover story. The dead body in the apartment was a boyfriend who had OD'd but miraculously came back to life after Alec got off the phone. 2 weekends ago, a rumor swept the clubs and was repeated last week by the Post page 6 that Freeze was talking to the police about Angel's disappearance. According to one source, however, the rumor is false. Freeze had actually been picked up by cops, but for a completely different reason. A local drag queen called them in after Freeze refused to leave her apartment where he had been staying temporarily. He was later released. 2 Thursdays ago, Michael Alec returned to New York from Denver, where he'd been visiting his buddy, the well-known superstar DJ Keoki. In a brief phone conversation, Keoki claimed that Alec was off drugs and in rehab and had nothing to do with Angel's disappearance. Even in Colorado, Alec had heard that the scandal, which had died down for a couple of months, was about to flare up again. He'd arrived at the tunnel early and left a note for Gadian, accusing Alessandra of selling him out on The Voice. He also proclaimed himself innocent of any wrongdoing in connection with missing Angel. According to Ron Koch, the club owner refused to see him. Alec had gone around bad-mouthing The Voice, telling friends not to cooperate with the story. He had also convinced many of his friends that in fact he didn't kill Angel. Everybody wants to believe he didn't do it, says the insider, who himself is convinced of Alec's guilt. They're in deep denial. Some of his closest associates spoke to me anyway. Michael has turned into a borderline psychopath, says a childhood friend. All the creative energy he used to put into Disco 2000, he's now putting into avoiding responsibility for the disappearance of Angel. He's a sick puppy and he needs to pay for what he did. He's not borderline, says another pal who I talked to while he was in New York. He's completely fucking insane. He's totally delusional. A comment I heard again and again from people who know Alec is that he lives in his own reality. He thinks the normal rules of law and behavior that govern the rest of us don't apply to him. How else to account for the news that at the end of June, Alec is planning a bash in Denver entitled The World's Biggest K-Hole. A local club is planning to pay for a number of Manhattan club kids to fly them out to Colorado for the event. But the party might not be the roaring success that Alec hopes for. While his friends, like Keoki, stand firmly by Alec, several night crawlers I talked to are appalled by the story swirling around Alec. Says there's no way they're going to Denver. The Angel incident may turn out to be the club kids' version of Altamont. Among club goers who pride themselves on being unshockable, it has touched a raw nerve. It's difficult to go out to clubs and enjoy myself, said one. It's not fun anymore. As far as I'm concerned, it's the death of downtown all over again. According to a few of Alec's friends, after claiming responsibility for Angel's death, Alec asked them, Does this change how you feel about me? It seems it does. All this could be an elaborate media prank, of course. Maybe after this article comes out, Alec will throw a welcome home angel party and the missing Melendez will make a grand entrance, resplendent in his newly laundered feather wings. We may all have been scammed by the head of scammers of all scammers, said screaming Rachel. Or maybe we haven't. Either way, it's time for Alec to tell us where Angel is hiding out or where his body can be found. I'm not after revenge, insists Johnny Melendez. Conscience will take care of Michael Alec. If my brother is dead, I just want to find his body so that my parents can give him a decent burial. Nobody deserves to die like that. The reason I wanted to read this article first is that you really get to see how each person is portrayed in the news. The victim, or at the time the missing person, Andre Melendez, or Angel, was immediately referred to as a small-time drug dealer, while one of his supposed murderers was referred to as a former hat designer. He was a person of color, gay, and a drug dealer. To the police, this meant that his life was not valuable enough to be investigated until his body was discovered, and the police saw a way to try and nab other big-time drug dealers.
The Limelight and the Tunnel, cops say they're a drug buyer's paradise.
Many wonder, however, tonight if this is about drugs or more about getting controversial club owner Peter Gatien.
New York City police moved in at midnight on the trendy Limelight and Tunnel clubs, executing a court order to eject the patrons and close the night spots down.
Clubs were closed under New York's nuisance abatement law, which permits the shuttering of establishments where narcotics are sold.
They blow it all out of proportion. I mean, it's nothing that you couldn't find in any corner in New York City. I mean, they've blown this whole thing out of proportion. I really think it's unfair.
Last night's closures were not part of the federal indictments, but related to cocaine busts made earlier in the day by New York City police.
Yeah, it was like a scene from a movie set. This dark place full of dirty couches and a lot of stoned people.
There were 3 arrests made this afternoon of an employee of the Limelight and 2 associates based on evidence gathered at the Limelight. And this is a signal that we're not going to tolerate the use of businesses as drug-selling locations in the city.
Give me a break. Like, this was going to change the whole city.
Under the city's nuisance abatement law, both the Limelight and the Tunnel here can be closed for up to a year. But according to Peter Gatien's attorney, he will move in court next week to have both clubs reopened.
Now we're going to go to a short interview with Michael a couple of years before the actual murder occurred. I just wanted to include the clips for a couple of reasons. In the first clip, you'll see they're showing a flyer of one of their events that they're promoting, a party that they're promoting, and it says acid on it. And the interviewer is kind of asking, do you sell drugs at your parties? Are you promoting that you sell drugs? And their answer is, well, if people want to take it before they come to the party, that's more what we're after when we're putting this on the flyer, which I don't really think is true, but this may be the issue that the police had with these specific club promoters, is they may have been more blatant about their drug use, and maybe that's why the police focused on them so hard.
You're advertising the fact that you give away what are now illegal drugs. Isn't that a little odd?
We don't give it away. I mean, if people want to take the drug and then come to the party, that's.
The second clip I wanted to include just to get a little peek into the way that Michael thinks, and it has become a little bit clear from reading articles and listening to the people that surrounded themselves with Michael that he truly thought he could get away with anything.
And he said, "You can't come into the club; you have to pay." And I didn't realize it was a benefit, and I thought he was just joking. And I said, "Oh, you're ridiculous. I'm not going to pay." And I pushed him out of the way, and I dragged on my friends, and I said, "They're not paying either." And we, swore up and down we would never give them a penny, and of course it must have looked really bad.
Well, Michael certainly made it look pretty bad.
It was bad. I mean,
he didn't take it back in a later column and say it was all a misunderstanding.
No. Well,
he's a gossip call. He's not going to apologize.
Now, this last clip may have been more incriminating than Michael thought, because it actually became a well-known thing that Michael was a pedophile. He was into young men. He prostituted young men. He prostituted them at parties or to celebrities. This was something that a lot of people talked about him doing and being interested in. So to see it in an interview so early early and brought up so early and so casually, to me just speaks to more that it was less of a rumor and more of a fact, unfortunately.
How do you get these boys who are like, closet cases to come to your events and suddenly let their hair down? You're amazing for that, and you're famous for being able to do it, unlike...
Very good at that.
I think it's a fluke. I think they just started coming and now they know to come. Because
Kids
in the beginning we never went out to get them. They just
there's
started
some kids
coming.
that have been coming out, like coming from Long Island, and they, come out with little ties and their shorts, and before you know, by the end of the month, they're wearing skirts.
They're wearing their mother's
They're all hanging
dresses.
around Michael.
They're wearing their mother's
running around
clothes.
causing trouble. It's fabulous. It's really
So,
great.
Michael, let's get this straight now. You seduce youngsters and turn them into homosexuals?
The Club Kid scene was notorious for its quirky and interesting individuals, either scaring or inspiring certain Americans. This scene may have been popularized by Michael, but at the end of the day, it was not about the tragic things people remember it for. New York, San Francisco, and LA in the 70s, 80s, 90s, even today, became places where young gay people could come and feel accepted. You could be weird and queer and loud, and no one would tell you to be quiet. But like anything else, it always has to be ruined by somebody. Michael was not a promising club promoter who got sucked into drugs and became a vicious murderer. Drug user does not equal murderer. From the information I found on Michael, it seemed like he was on this path already before his drug habits got out of control. The drugs probably only helped him deal with the destruction he had caused. The truth of what happened with Angel was all in this very first article. Even though none of the information was confirmed and he hadn't even been found yet, it was all true. Michael was telling everyone every exact detail about the murder, thinking that no one would care or do anything about it. And that was true to an extent. The police essentially only followed up with the crime to arrest club owners and drug dealers. I don't know about you, but I'd rather have a murderer off the street than to have a club shut down. Where the police's head is at, I will never know. At the very least, Angel's body was discovered. He was able to be taken home to his family and given a proper burial. And the murderers, the two people who murdered him, did go to jail for that crime. So that is something good that, in some aspect we can think of in this case. I unfortunately was not able to find exact footage of Angel Menendez, just because a lot of the footage that I do have of Club Kids is more from the late 80s than the early 90s, when they became more popular in a sense. But I am going to leave this on a sort of nice note, as nice as I possibly can, by showing the Club Kids that were sweet and fun-loving and had great style and seemed just like really awesome, fun people to be around. Not Michael. I'm going to cut Michael out of everything. But I just want to show you guys a couple of clips of these people. Even RuPaul was in the Club Kids. It was so nice to see RuPaul in some of these older videos. So I'm just going to leave you guys with about 5 minutes of some clips, just to give you a sense of who these people really were.
Hi everyone. Look at you. I don't know where everybody is. We're still waiting.
They're all here.
Come on, here's Latasha and Natasha. Oh look, it's Carlos. Hold on a second. Carlos and Armand, and who else is in there?
And picked up that little bauble.
Gorgeous.
And of course I made this little one. This is actually in honor of Zsa Zsa Gabor.
Gorgeous.
Is this Zsa Zsa?
That's Zsa Zsa.
Yes, it is. So glad you came. Great. We will have a dreadsidental evening. The landlord is trying to kick out the guy whose neighbor is in. But he's so funny. What do you want? This woman. I would have missed it for the world. Feel a bottle of vodka. Coming up in about 10 minutes. You didn't get any Adventures in Jersey. You've never heard of that? Well, you know we are.
Everybody's been waiting for you.
Really? Amazingly short amount of time. The eyelashes didn't take that long tonight. I was lucky. But I can't wait to go in, though.
If you want to see more videos like this, please comment down below and let me know. Subscribe and like the video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.